The note in the jacket. The air in the room turned to ice when my wife's laughter cut through the chatter like a blade. Oh, I'd never marry him again. The dinner party froze. Forks hovered midair, glasses trembled, conversations died mid-sentence. Every pair of eyes found me. Her laughter lingered, light, careless, cruel. As if she hadn't just sliced open my chest in front of our closest friends. I forced a smile that stung like salt in a wound and raised my glass. To bad decisions, I said, my voice steady though my gut trembled. The room exhaled. Laughter trickled back in, awkward and brittle. But her eyes never met mine. They hadn't for weeks. The chandelier's amber glow spilled across the mahogany table, over half-empty plates, wine-stained napkins, and the scent of roasted lamb mixed with rosemary and regret. My best friend, Tom, clapped a hand on my shoulder, his grin too wide, his cologne too sharp. "She's just teasing, mate," he murmured, his hand lingering a fraction too long. I nodded, swallowing the sour knot in my throat. Emma, my wife of 10 years, had already turned away, auburn hair catching the light as she leaned toward Sarah, whispering something that made them both laugh. Something about that ease, that dismissal, felt like a splinter working deeper under my skin. I'd seen the signs for months, buried them under excuses. Late nights at her law firm. Her phone angled just out of sight. The faint trace of perfume that didn't smell like hers. I told myself it was stress, that the promotion was wearing her down. But doubt is a quiet poison. It seeps in slow until every sigh sounds like a confession. And tonight, her joke wasn't just a jab, it was a flare in the dark, lighting up everything I'd refused to see. I excused myself, crossing the oak floor to the dim hallway. The air was cooler there, scented faintly with old books from my study. My jacket hung on the coat rack, worn leather, soft from years of road trips and late-night diners, her head once on my shoulder under a sky of stars. I reached for it, needing something familiar. My fingers brushed the inside pocket. Something crinkled. Not mine. I pulled out a folded note, the paper soft from being handled too often. My pulse hammered as I opened it. "Meet me at the usual spot. 10 p.m. Don't tell him." No name. Just a hurried scrawl in blue ink. The words blurred as my heart pounded. I read it again and again. The him was me. Had to be. The hallway tilted. I gripped the wall to keep steady, the plaster cold under my palm. Who was she meeting? When? Every memory twisted, reshaping itself into something sinister. The late nights. The deflections. The sudden distance when I tried to reach for her. But I needed to see it, to know. Because love blinds you. It makes you cling to the wreckage even as it drags you under. When I returned, the others had drifted into the living room. Jazz hummed low from the speakers. Emma stood by the fireplace, bathed in the flicker of flames, laughing again. Tom stood beside her, his hand grazing her arm as he leaned in close. Too close. My stomach churned. Tom, my best friend since college. The man who'd toasted our marriage, promising loyalty, love, and friendship. Had all of it been a lie? I didn't confront her. Not there. Not with everyone watching, pretending not to notice. I poured drinks, cracked jokes, wore my smile like armor. But my eyes kept drifting to the jacket lying over the chair, and the secret folded inside. I made a plan. The next night she said she had a late meeting. Her tone casual, her kiss on my cheek brief and distant. I waited 10 minutes, then grabbed my keys. The note was still in my pocket, heavier now than lead. I drove to the usual spot, a quiet cafe on the edge of town, one we'd once loved in simpler days. The irony made me sick. Rain streaked down the windshield, turning the world into a blur of neon and shadows. Then I saw her. Emma stepped from her car, coat pulled tight, head down against the drizzle. She didn't go inside. Instead, she crossed to a bench under a street lamp where someone waited. Tom. My breath caught. They sat. Talked. Heads bowed close together. I couldn't hear the words, but I didn't need to. When his hand found hers and she didn't pull away, I felt something inside me crack open and die. The rain grew heavier, drumming against the roof, drowning out everything except the sound of my own breaking heart. I drove home alone. The house was silent, the kind of silence that hums in your bones. I sat at the kitchen table, her jacket draped over the chair like a ghost. When she came home an hour later, her hair damp and her smile brittle, she froze at the sight of me. "What's wrong?" she asked, voice too careful. I held up the note. Her face went pale. "Where did you find that?" "In my jacket," I said quietly. "The one you borrowed last week." She sank into a chair, her hands trembling. "It's not what you think." "Then what is it?" I asked, my voice trembling despite the fury burning through it. Why are you meeting Tom in secret? Why the lies? Why the joke about never marrying me again? Her eyes filled with tears that never fell. I didn't mean it, any of it. The joke was stupid. And Tom, we were just talking. You've been distant and he listened. It wasn't physical. I laughed, bitter and broken. Emotional, I said, the word like poison on my tongue. You think that makes it better? You gave him the pieces of you I thought were mine. She reached for me but I stepped back. The space between us felt like miles. I love you, she whispered. I didn't know how to fix us. I stood, the note slipping from my fingers to the floor. You didn't try, I said. You chose him. Her sobs followed me out the door, raw, echoing in the rain. But I kept walking. Into the night. Into the truth.